Have you ever caught yourself staring at your reflection and wondering, how did I end up here? Maybe you're scrolling through social media, watching others celebrate their successes, while you feel stuck in the same place you've been for years. Your late 20s, 30s, or even 40s have arrived and life hasn't shaped up the way you imagined. You're not where you thought you'd be, and the weight of that realization feels suffocating. You're behind. Everyone seems to be running toward their dreams while you're barely keeping pace. But what if I told you it is okay to feel this way? That being behind doesn't mean you have failed. It simply means your path looks different. Your journey isn't over. In fact, it is just the beginning. Here's why being behind isn't the end of your story. It is the beginning of something even better. Growing up as a second-generation Chinese Latina was tough. My parents immigrated to Latin America seeking a better future and worked tirelessly to give us a roof over our heads and food on the table. From the moment I stepped into kindergarten, I knew I was different. My classmates teased me endlessly about my Chinese heritage, and they called me names, mocked the way I look. I didn't understand why I was such an easy target. I was a kid, just like them. But it seems like my very existence was enough to set me apart. For years, I cried myself to sleep, and I remember one particularly dark moment when I told my mom the world might be better off without me. I'll never forget the look on her face and how her tears mirrored mine as she reassured me that I mattered. But even her words couldn't drown out the noise of my bullies and the voice inside my head that said, "You're not good enough." Academically, I was average. My grades were not stellar, and I didn't excel in anything that would make someone stand out on paper. But despite all that, I had one big dream, and that was to study at MIT, one of the world's most prestigious engineering universities. That dream felt impossibly out of reach. Studying in the United States required money and academic excellence, neither of which I had. But what I did have was determination and, honestly, a lot of stubbornness. I applied for a full ride scholarship offered by the government and was one of a few students selected. To be fair, I didn't get the scholarship because I was the best candidate. None of my classmates applied, but even with that stroke of luck, my journey was far from smooth. I failed both the TOEFL and the SAT. My scores were so low that every major university basically rejected me. Just when I thought all hope was lost, a small university in Indiana decided to take a chance on me. Arriving in the United States, I was overwhelmed. The education system was far superior to what I was used to, and the people I was surrounded by seemed effortlessly brilliant. Meanwhile, I felt like I had to work 10 times harder just to stay afloat. For an entire academic year, I averaged 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night. I joined 8 different clubs, was the first student in the academic building at around 5 a.m. and the last to leave at 2 a.m. By the end of the year, I was burnt out. I've often sit alone, exhausted and wondering why I had to work so much harder than my classmates who could study less, sleep more, and still thrive. But here's what I've realized since then. We all have different starting lines, and comparing yourself to others only deepens the sense of feeling of not being good enough. After graduating from undergrad, I faced another series of setbacks. I couldn't find a job, so I returned to Latin America, where I started an educational startup. For 2 years, I poured everything into the business, but it failed. We lost more money than we made, and I felt like I was back to square one. But failure has a way of teaching you lessons you can't learn any other way. It forced me to reevaluate my goals and to think about what truly mattered to me. I still dream of studying at MIT, and after 10 years of building connections, knocking on doors, and convincing people I was worth the investment, I finally made it. When I arrived at MIT, I was ecstatic. This was the dream I had clung to for so long. But once that excitement wore off, I was faced with an overwhelming sense of imposter syndrome. At MIT, I was surrounded by the brightest minds in the world. My classmates were publishing groundbreaking research, landing media interviews, and making waves in their respective feels. Meanwhile, I was struggling to find my footing. I wasn't publishing papers or gaining recognition. Every day I wonder if the admissions team had made a mistake. After graduating, I faced another uphill battle. I failed yet another startup, spent months unemployed, and couldn't get into the PhD program I had set my heart on. I was lost, nothing was going according to plan, and I felt like a failure. Fast forward a few years and I found myself pregnant with my first baby. While most people think of pregnancy as a time to slow down, I felt an unexpected spark of inspiration. I didn't just want to prepare for motherhood, I wanted to build something for my family's future. During my maternity leave, while caring for my newborn and recovering from childbirth, I dove deep into something entirely new, and it was Amazon FBA business. I had no prior knowledge of how it worked, but I was determined to figure it out. Between late night feedings and diaper changes, I watched countless YouTube videos, read articles, and taught myself the ins and outs of the business. Starting from zero was daunting, but that side hustle changed my life. It was slowly generating enough extra income to make a real difference in our lives. On top of that, it gave us enough credit card travel points to take our family on unforgettable trips around the world for cheap. That experience taught me that growth often comes from the most unexpected places. If I hadn't taken that leap, I never would have discovered the joys of entrepreneurship or the freedom that financial independence brings. Inspired by my Amazon FBA journey, I decided to document it in a YouTube video. My channel had been stagnant for years. I'd started uploading videos to different channels back in 2009, but never gained much traction. With only 800 subscribers on this particular channel, I often questioned if I was wasting my time. But this video was different. It was honest, raw, and filled with lessons I had learned along the way. To my surprise, it went viral. Within 4 months, my channel grew from 800 subscribers to nearly 40,000 of you. If you're feeling behind, remember this: growth takes time. It is okay if you're not where you want to be in your 20s or 30s. Some of the most successful people in history didn't find their calling until later in life. Colonel Sanders didn't start KFC until his 60s. Vera Wang didn't become a designer until her 40s. Your timeline is yours alone, and it is never too late to chase your dreams. Looking back, I'm grateful for every struggle I've faced. The bullying, the failures, the moment of self-doubt, they all shaped me into who I am today. Without those experiences, I wouldn't have the resilience, the empathy, and the drive to keep pushing forward. I've learned that it is okay to feel lost. It is okay to not have everything figured out. What matters is that you keep moving forward, even if it is just one small step at a time. If you feel like life is passing you by, take a deep breath. You're not alone. Here are some lessons I've learned along the way that might help you. Stop comparing your journey to others. Comparison is the quickest way to lose joy. It is tempting to look at someone else's success and feel like you're falling short. But remember, your journey is uniquely yours. Don't measure your chapter 1 against someone else's chapter 10. Embrace failure as a stepping stone. Failure isn't the end. It is part of the process. Each setback brings with it an opportunity to learn, to grow, and pivot. It is not about how many times you fall. It is about how many times you get back up. Surround yourself with people who inspire you. Your environment shapes your growth. Surround yourself with people who challenge and uplift you, those who are striving for greatness. They'll motivate you to rise higher and remind you of what is possible. Success has no deadline. It is easy to think you have missed your chance, but success doesn't have an expiration date. Your timeline is valid whether you are 25, 35, or 65. You're not too late. You're right on time for your journey. Take the first step, no matter how small. Progress begins with action. You don't need to have it all figured out from the start. Just take one step forward, A small consistent action compound over time lead to meaningful change. If there's one thing you take from my story, let it be this. It is okay to feel behind. Life isn't a race. It is a winding path filled with detours, surprises, and growth. Right now in this moment, you are enough. Your worth isn't tied to how quickly you achieve your goals or how your progress stacks up against others. It is about your persistence, your resilience, and your willingness to keep moving forward, no matter how many times you stumble. This is your journey. Embrace it one step at a time. So what's your story? What struggles have shaped you into who you are today? Share your journey in the comments below. Let's inspire each other to embrace our path, no matter how winding they might be. Because at the end of the day, it is not about how fast you get there. It is about the person you become along the way. And trust me, you're becoming someone extraordinary. Keep moving forward. You've got this.